8 weeks from me, and you're not only going to be a lean, mean, killing machine, you're going to be ready for a commission in the Waffen-SS. Hate, son, hate! The great motivator, hate. You're going to hate Roper, you're going to hate me, you're going to hate the fucking world!
I'm about to read you the point totals for each team over the past month, from top to bottom. At number 1, Jay, 414. Number 2, Joe, 406. Number 3, Team Bundy, 392. Number 4, The Commish, 365. Number 5, Ed, 359. There's a name missing here that I haven't said yet. Number 6, Eric, 349. Number 7, Paul, 338. Number 8, Pedro, 335. Number 8. I still haven't said a name. Starts with an A. You know, it's all good and well to talk trash within a league that's based on bragging rights. But at some point, we have to live within reality. This is fantasy, but we've got to live in reality. And reality in this case are the past 30 days in this league that this owner, coming in at number 9, has averaged 81 points each week over the past 4 weeks. Andy with 325. Number 10, of course, is Hensel with 263. We're just going to let the numbers speak for themselves. Oh, this is your Week 10 recap. Bundy here, you there, feeling... I'm elevated. I'm levitating above the ground here. The hottest team in the league at 3 consecutive wins, of course, Team Bundy, defeating Ricky O with a final score of 101-284. That Monday night game, the Buffalo Bills were trying everything in their power to give that game to Orlando. There was that very last offensive possession that they had where they were around the goal line and James Cook had fumbled and picked up his own fumble and ran for about 30 to 40 yards. And I thought for just one split second, I think it was about a 10 or 9 point difference. I said, if Orlando gets in the end zone, then this is going to be a close game. That's all it was going to be. He wasn't going to win. There wasn't enough time. The Bills weren't going to get the ball back. I knew that the Broncos would eventually either miss their field goal or win. And of course, they won. Team Bundy has asserted themselves as, I won't say the best team because I do not have the best team in the league, but easily top 3 team in the league, not just because of record, but because of output and what my team is about to do. Of course, 16 points from Austin Eckler, 10 from Joe Mixon, who is finally waking up, even though the Bengals had a nightmare of a Sunday losing against the Texans. DK Metcalf with 9, Michael Pittman Jr. with 8, Mark Andrews. Listen, I'm the sort of person that if I face you, you have the quarterback, you know, my tight end's quarterback, I I didn't care that Mark Andrews had 4 points by the end of the game or during the game. I was just like, just as long as the Ravens aren't possessing the ball, I'm fine. As long as the Ravens don't have the ball, I'm fine. Lamar Jackson was just limited to 12 points. Not a great afternoon for him. Of course, 6 points from Saquon Barkley. And that bum-ass nigga, Devin Singletary, with 22 points. Nothing infuriates you more than a player you know doesn't produce points. He gets in the end zone, and the announcer goes, and this is his first touchdown. Nothing upsets you more than that, because then you take the approach that Paul took a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, yes, of course, against me. You know, it becomes a self-pity session with yourself in front of your TV, and you go, fucking of course he did this shit against me. Devin Singletary scoring his first touchdown as a Texan. I think that's what they said. 150 yards, 30 fucking carries, dude. 30 fucking carries. You know how upset I was at that point? And I said, yo, if I lose because of this, I'm gonna punch my TV. I don't know. It would have come to no consequence to anyone else. It just would have hurt me. But thank God that wasn't a deciding factor. The commish goes down, and I gotta say, this is a little payback for the commish for some reason bringing up my previous failures over the past few years. See, on the recaps, we talk about what you do over the past few weeks. The commish is talking shit about what I've done over the past 5 years, and he tells me to break the curse, but it's kind of looking like the commish is a bubble team here. Going into week 11, he tells me to break the curse. I tell him to make the playoffs. I don't know, commish. It certainly worked in your favor that you had the ability to neutralize me with all these Buffalo Bills players, but I knew, just like I told you on the recaps, I knew that if I had you by 30 points at the beginning of the Monday night game, and I didn't have you by 30, I had you by 26. See, I was playing it safe because I figured a minimum of 25 points, there's just no way you'd be able to beat me. You'd have to, what's that Dave Chappelle skit, The Whack Arnolds, when he's arguing with his wife and he's like, I got y'all some burgers and fries. And she's like, Kevin, you can't keep feeding our son burgers and fries. What do you want me to do? Nigga, get a real job. Just like Dave Chappelle told his wife, the rib sandwich is coming out on Tuesday. If you want Whack Arnolds, you got to go through me. If you want those Buffalo Bills points, Orlando, you had to go through me. And with a 26-point advantage for Team Bundy, it just was not going to happen. We move on to the next game. Guylander, the trilogy. That's your new name. Shame on me, by the way. Shame on me for not calling you this from the start. Why have I ever honored you by calling you by your proper name and not flipping it just like I did to J-Ray? Just like I did to Ed? Guylander, because you land on men. That's what you do. Your purpose is to land on a man's lap. Guylander, the trilogy, defeats Pork Chop Express 89-80, of course. Small margins with Andy. Andy getting an injury to Derek Carr. I was surprised that Andy picked up Derek Carr. I thought he would have picked up Joshua Dobbs. Would have worked out better. Joshua Dobbs didn't get injured. Of course, Derek Carr gets injured at some point in the game. He gets carted off. 5 total points for him. 4 points for Aaron Jones. This nigga actually started Justice Hill. And you got the nerve to say shit to Justice Hill. I dumped him off weeks ago. What is it with you guys picking up my table scraps and then having the gall to say shit to me? How dare you, Andy? 11 points for Deebo Samuel. And if it wasn't for the 29-point performance by Keenan Allen, where would Andy have been with his 89 points? Keenan Allen, of course, getting 2 touchdowns. How much yardage did he get? Getting 2 touchdowns, 175 yards on 11 catches. Great game for him. TJ Hawkinson with a 19 and 16 just last night from Javonte Williams. On the other side, Paul, 27 points from Herbert, 16 finally from Bijan Robinson, but it was not enough to beat Andy as Paul gets a bunch of single-digit performances, gets an 11 from Trenton Irwin. That was a good pickup for Paul, and I also got an 11 on my bench from Tyler Boyd. So either way, you would have gotten an 11. Wouldn't have been enough to get you the victory in any case. Andy moves on to a record of 8-1-1, but it's not really 8-1-1. Of course, that's your record. That's fine. That's not what we're trying to say here, Andy. We understand your record's your record, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, you should be one of these 4 victory teams. I have 5 victory teams. This is not an 8-1-1 season for you. And what's likely to happen is you will face someone in the second round, because at this point you're probably going to clinch. We'll get to your week 11 matchup. You're probably going to clinch, and your round 2 opponent is just going to rape you, because most of us are scoring in the 90s and 100s, Andy. And you've got the nerve, by the way, to just pop out at the beginning of the Sunday games and like, hey, where's the hay? Where's the hay? This guy has 2 consecutive championships, 3 over the last 4 years, 8-1-1. He's had a cakewalk of matchups. Lowest points scored against him. Paul this week decimated by the bye week. That's a lot of buys, obviously, because we're talking about the Guylander. With all this, he has no internal motivation. He's not internally motivated to spew hate. Andy's got to be a counterpuncher. You have to say something to him in order for him to come back with a lame comeback. Why is that? I thought about that, Andy. I think you do it because you're guilty that this is really a failed season. It's a failed season because you don't deserve your record. You've been here just as long as all of us, with exception to Paul and Ed. You've been here as long as all of us, and you know that these kind of seasons don't work out. These kind of seasons end in a second round failure. So you want somebody to beat up on you. That's what this is about. You want men to beat up on you so you can land on them. Fag. The next game is Jokes on You defeating the Floridian Crippler 96-94. Pedro with an interesting week here, getting 19 points from Joe Burrow, 10 from Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker III with 18. Bad game for Hollywood Brown. And of course, the new addition of Calvin Ridley did not work out week 1, just getting 2 points. How much yardage? Getting 20 yards for Calvin Ridley. We'll talk about the trades in just a second. Cole Kmet with 4, and the other new addition, Brian Robinson Jr. with 20 points. And that was Pedro's best performance. So, first week on the team, Brian Robinson Jr. makes a difference and gets Pedro the victory over Ed, who gets 18 points from CJ Stroud. Yo, I am sick and fucking tired of all the CJ Stroud hype. Hold on, give me a second. Daddy's got to drink water. The CJ Stroud stuff has gotten so out of control. There's been MVP talk, which in the NFL this year, it's like it's just hot potato. It's just 1 week, this guy's the MVP because he wins 2 games. A couple weeks ago, when Joe Burrow had his calf injury, the Bengals were failing, they were done, and then the game against San Francisco, and Joe Burrow could be the MVP. Now the current MVP hopeful is this guy. And are we forgetting the terrible week that he had, week 8 against the Carolina Panthers, where he scored 12 points? He had 140 yards. Before that, it was 190. This isn't even to Ed. This is just CJ Stroud hype in general. 199 yards against New Orleans in week 6, 13 total points, 13 before that. Come on, let's slow it down. I know the NFL, it's always a hype train from week to week, but it's not that deep. If anything, he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but he is not winning the MVP. 18 points again from CJ Stroud, and 22 from Jahmyr Gibbs. Let me tell you this, Ed. I know what we said here because we were sitting right here when we said it. I know I said that you were going to lose the lifeline of Jahmyr Gibbs, and of course he got 22 points, 77 yards on 14 carries, 2 touchdowns. Good for him. You still lost. Maybe this might turn out well for you, or they're slowly bringing in David Montgomery, who was fortunate to get that long run. If it wasn't for that long run, he wouldn't have had a great week either. Maybe that's what it is. We don't know. For now, we'll say good for you. Maybe you have a dual threat here with the Detroit Lions. And if it is, that improves your chances, but it only improves your chances to spoil teams because you are officially done. As I said last week, this was the big game of the week because the loser of this game is eliminated from playoff contention. The combination of Ed's lack of scoring and Ed's record at the moment being 3-7, to me, ends this season for Ed, fortunately, right? Because if Ed would have gotten into the playoffs, if he would have had some sort of success, it would have been, oh, it's because I drafted a kicker in the 3rd round. Like, that would have been Ed's logic. The next 4 games for Ed, his schedule, next week versus Hensel, got a very good chance of winning that game. Hensel, as I said, 263 points over the past 4 weeks. Then Team Bundy, let's not even comment about that. Then your last 2 games are against Eric, the highest scoring team, and Orlando. I think you're either going to split those 4 games, which is just going to give you 5. That's not going to be enough to get you into at the very, the best you can do is split those games. I don't see you winning 3 out of the last 4. And even if you do win 3, you'll just have 6 wins. So you'll probably end up tying with the low end playoff slots, and you're not going to have enough points. You're done, son. Pedro of all people put you out. There you go. That's what you get for being impulsive, doing what you do. You made your trade. We're going to get to the trade in a second. You got 6 points from Breece Hall and 9 points from Garrett Wilson, 4 from Sam Laporta, and 1 point from Taysom Hill. Look, Taysom Hill, high risk, high reward. Some weeks he's going to get you 20 points, and this week he's going to get you 1. Such a close game. And I also want to mention that for the second week in a row, out of many weeks, if Ed would have selected a different quarterback on his team, he would have won the game because Brock Purdy managed to get 23 points. 5 points better than CJ Stroud. Ed would have gotten the victory. So sorry, Ed. The next game here is Big Papa Poop defeating Joelicus Maximus 127-88, the highest scoring teams over the past month. 37 points for, this has been the reason. The injury to Fields has lifted Jay's team because over the past 3 weeks, the best quarterback in fantasy football has been Dak Prescott. 27 points week 8, 27 points week 9, and 37 points, 4 touchdowns, 404 yards for Dak Prescott. He is, he's pretty much lifting Jay's entire team here, only getting 11 from Alvin Kamara, 12 from Jonathan Taylor, who I thought after that first Colts drive, I was watching it because, I thought Michael Pittman would do more than 8 points, but at the very least, he got his projection. I assumed that Jonathan Taylor would get more work and he would have gotten more than 12 by the end of the game. Very surprising, a very low scoring game. I don't know why I put myself through that. Amon St. Brown with 21, 8 from Devontae Adams, the newest addition to Jay's team, and Trey McBride, who's been pretty productive. At least week 8 he got 15, and this week he got 13. So that's high production for a tight end. On the other side here, 23 points from Sam Howell. good for, good for Joe for starting Sam Howell. Bad game for Travis Etienne. Terrible game for Derrick Henry. 28 points, of course, for CeeDee Lamb, who's been great, along with Dak Prescott. And that's about it for Joe's team. I guess on the bright spot, week 11, Joe gets Devon Achane back. And for some reason, he didn't play Rachaad White. I don't know why Joe played DeAndre Hopkins in the flex spot. No idea why that happened. He should have played Rachaad White, who last week got him 15 and the week before 13 and then 10 before that. So look at that. Rachaad White actually yielding some benefit here, and Joe puts him on the bench. Bad management by Joe. So Big Papa Pooh takes away the Kirk Cameron Award for fantasy excellence. And the last game here is Ewok Rape defeating Plathanos 82-53. Jared Goff, who was Eric's replacement for Jalen Hurts, getting 21 points. 13 points from Christian McCaffrey, breaking his touchdown streak in the postgame. He said he sucked. I think that was pretty funny. Let's see. Ramondre Stevenson with 9 points. Ramondre Stevenson, 9 points. Guys coming alive here. Adam Thielen playing his last game for Ewok Rape with 4 points. Tank Dell, also his last game with Eric, getting 12. Jake Ferguson continues his decent tight end production with 8. 8 points for Gus Edwards, who continues to be the consistent back in the unpredictable Ravens backfield. And that's about it for Eric. 9 points for Amari Cooper on the bench. When was the last time Eric played Amari Cooper? And this is the... this is Hensel's season here with Trevor Lawrence, who, damn, fucking 1 point. You couldn't get my nigga Hensel more than 1 point? Jesus Christ. Jesus, Trevor, 185 yards. God, what a bad game for Trevor Lawrence. 17 for David Montgomery. If it wasn't for that run, David Montgomery. Tony Pollard again with a bad game. 5 points. 1 point for Deontay Johnson because he's not facing me. Fucking Deontay Johnson. 15 points for Chris Olave. After the injury to David Carr, Chris Olave was fortunate to get Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston was just gunning it. 15 points for him, getting 1 touchdown and 94 yards. So 2 consecutive good weeks for Chris Olave. And another head-scratching... See, in Hensel's case, his flex position, obviously Chris Olave, Hensel has to start him because that's his number 1 receiver. But why Drake London? Hensel's loyalty to Drake London here. It wasn't going to give him the victory in any case, but Najee Harris has been scoring points. He's been scoring points, he got a touchdown in the previous week and the week before that in week 7. Week 7, he got a touchdown with 12 points. Didn't do shit week 8. Week 9, he got a touchdown. This week, he got a touchdown, scoring 15 points on Hensel's bench. And Hensel didn't put him in. He's got to score points. But, at this point, Hensel's most likely done. He, of course, takes away the Tito Award for, I don't know, the second or third time. We'll count at the end of the season. We'll tally up the Tito Awards. I think Ed is in contention for number 1 as well. So the divisions, at top of the WCW division, of course, is Andy, who has clinched a playoff position. Good for you, Guylander. At 8-1-1, Big Papa Pooh in the number 2 slot with 6-4-0. Joelicus Maximus at 4-6. Pork Chop Express at 4-6, and Ricky O at the bottom of the division at 4-6. At top of the NWO division is Ewok Rape with 6-3-1 for now. The Toronto Bundy with 5-4-1 in the second position. Plathanos with 4-5-1. Joke's on you, who's on the rise, who's improving at 4-6-0, and the Floridian Crippler at bottom of the NWO division with 3-7. The top scorers in the league are as follows. You have Eric at top with 990, Joelicus Maximus with 954, Pork Chop Express with 946, Guylander, the trilogy, with 938, and the Toronto Bundy in the 5th position with 935. Andy, just give it up. Give up the position. And as a matter of fact, Paul, too, you're going to have to give it up. And probably Joe's got, 21 more points or 19. God, my math is terrible. Give it up, guys. Just give it up. Okay, so let's discuss these trades that were done this week. First, we're going to go with the Alfredian trade, officially it went through on Friday between Dro and Jay. Jay receives Rashid Shaheed, who is the 25th ranked wide receiver with 3 touchdowns. Oh, I didn't write his yardage. Okay, whatever. Devontae Adams, the 18th ranked receiver with 3 touchdowns, 659 yards, 79 total points. Dro receives Brian Robinson Jr. and Calvin Ridley. Brian Robinson Jr. is the 4th ranked running back with 5 touchdowns, 485 yards, 114 total points. Calvin Ridley is the 38th ranked wide receiver, 2 touchdowns, 471 yards, and 58 total points. Okay. In my opinion, this was a decent trade. I have no Alfredian thoughts about this trade whatsoever, gentlemen. Pedro, of course, letting go of Devontae Adams is good for him because he lets go of this Raiders duo that's been holding him down. Since week 4, Devontae Adams has scored single-digit points, scoring 7, 4, 2, 5, 1, 3, 8. No touchdowns in that whole entire streak. So Devontae Adams not having a good season. It's a good trade for Pedro, but it makes me wonder, why did Pedro trade for more running backs? I know Brian Robinson got him the victory this week with 20 points. But if you look at Pedro's team, he has Josh Jacobs, he has Kenneth Walker. Unfortunately, Dameon Pierce isn't working out, but who knows what happens by the end of the season. James Conner and Jerome Ford, who at the very least is a low-end RB2, but definitely a consistent start every week. Also, Keaton Mitchell, who knows what's going to happen with that guy next year. If he locates to another team, watch out for him. I don't understand why I understand why he shipped out Devontae Adams, but I don't know why he picked up another running back. Jay, of course, now has Devontae Adams, Amon St. Brown, and coming soon, Justin Jefferson. You see, I think the point of a trade should be you're addressing your needs. One of the needs that he had, I got to get this guy off my team. One would argue, why would you do it for Calvin Ridley? I understand, if I'm not mistaken, Pedro had Calvin Ridley in the past. If he wants Calvin Ridley, then fine, you can take Calvin Ridley. Even though he isn't producing at a high rate, as I said, he is the 38th ranked wide receiver, 2 touchdowns, 58 total points. You essentially traded away a guy who is at least perceived as the number 1 for the Raiders. He's perceived. He's definitely the best player. He's the alpha. But for some reason, they're not connecting with Devontae Adams. So you lose a guy who is the perceived alpha for Calvin Ridley, who is playing with a quarterback who's not producing much. Trevor Lawrence scoring 1 point for Hensel. So that's a bit wishy-washy. That's a bit, but I don't think Pedro should have given up a second player. I think this should have been a 1-for-2. I don't know why he gave up Rashid Shaheed. Not that Rashid Shaheed is much. I mean, he's kind of Gabe Davis 2.0. He's boom or bust. I don't think Jay will ever start him. But it's still a decent trade because I get it. Just get him out of there and trade him for someone else. I think for Davante Adams, you could have gotten more because of the potential that he has to serve someone in the playoffs. Like, that's the one thing that we got to remember here. If somebody has a failed season, fine. He's not scoring much, but he's going to do something for you during the playoffs. Let's see. Weeks 4, 15, and 16. These are the playoff. Right? No, I think the playoffs are 15. God damn it. Give me a second. Oh, God. Let's do this properly here. Right. Week 14 is so it's 15, 16, and 17. Let's look at the Raiders matchups. Weeks 15, 16, and 17. You've got the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Indianapolis Colts. I believe you can throw on all those teams. You know, Jay wins there because there's the upside. There's the upside that he can get 29 points again, like he did week 3. I think he got about 29. So if you're Pedro, you got Calvin Ridley. That could help, I guess. You don't really strengthen your wide receivers because all you have is a Jalen Waddle who's not doing much either. And that's it. So that's the one thing that I would say is you could have gotten a better player than Calvin Ridley, but I'm not mad at the trade because I'm sure Pedro's been frustrated with Davante Adams. But I also want to say when I looked at the trade and, you know, at the time that the trade was made, I also find out that it was Jay's birthday. So, I don't know why, but when I looked at the app and I saw that the trade was made, I thought of that guy that follows around Michael Myers. I had to Google his name. I consider myself a movie buff when it comes to sports movies, comedies, hood movies, and some dramas. But I'm not a movie buff when it comes to horror films. So I remember the old guy, but I didn't recall his name. So his name is Dr. Loomis. And I thought about Dr. Loomis because that's what I do when Alfredians trade. I obstruct. Kind of like he always does with Michael Myers because he's aware of the evil that Michael is capable of. Of course, he was his child psychologist. That's what I feel like I am. I feel like in all the other leagues that you guys play in, the cop league that you and Paul play in, if you guys made a trade, if one of those cops go, is this trade legitimate? I just come out of the shadows like, I harbor resentment. It was on his birthday. But there was nothing wrong with this trade. Just know that I'm always watching. And the trade deadline is about 10 days away. So I'm watching all of you. The second trade that was made here was between Eric and Ed. This trade will be made official in about an hour, 1:12 p.m. to be exact. Eric gets Brandon Ayuk and Mike Evans. Let's not even run through the statistics. That's wasting too much time. And Ed gets Tank Dell and Adam Thielen. Okay. I don't get this trade for Ed. I don't get it. Let me explain my position. First of all, I do get that Ed made the trade after his official elimination. I think Ed knows that he's eliminated, and this is kind of what I said. Didn't I say that like 4 or 5 weeks ago? I said the danger with Ed is when the season is over, his ambition still keeps him making trades, still wanting to shift things around, then he could tip the competitive scale. So the rich get richer here, and the number 1 scoring team now gets Mike Evans. Though the reason that I don't get it is, why not for Cooper Kupp? Who gives a shit about Adam Thielen? I know that Adam Thielen has produced in previous weeks, though over the past month or so, he hasn't done much. Let's see. Let's actually look at these statistics here. I guess let's give it. Okay, so Adam Thielen is a 12th ranked wide receiver. He's got 652 yards, scoring 4 touchdowns and 87 total points. But over the past, let's say 3 weeks, because he had a bye in week 7, he's gotten 7 points, 2 points, 4 points. I don't understand why not Cooper Kupp. See, the Tank Dell thing, my assumption is that Ed wants to stack Tank Dell with CJ Stroud, but even that it's not really a hydra. It's just opportunistic because he still has Nico Collins. He still has a couple of other people, Dalton Schultz, that other wide receiver, I think his name is Brown, who Pedro has. Guys got over 100 yards the past 2 weeks. So I think CJ Stroud he spreads it around, but I don't understand Adam Thielen and not Cooper Kupp. Did Ed ask for Cooper Kupp? Because if I could recall Eric's messages when he was going back and forth with Paul, when those two ladies were feuding, I believe Eric offered Cooper Kupp, some mixture of players for AJ Brown. And if not Cooper Kupp, why not Amari Cooper? Like, 4 weeks ago, maybe Adam Thielen was a thing, but he's got to produce. He's got to keep producing that in order to have the value for me to trade over Mike Evans. I don't understand. I do understand maybe the tanking mentality, even if he's unaware of it, right? Like, just subconsciously, it's like, I don't care about my season. Look, and I'll tell you this. When Ed yesterday messaged me twice about making trades, sort of like a crackhead. He's just like scratching his neck and he's just like, yo, man, I want to make another trade, man. And I'm like, Ed, I'm good, man. I'm good. Why do you still want to make trades? At one point, you're just going to shuffle the deck. That's all you're doing is shuffling the deck. And my other question is this. Would Eric have taken Garrett Wilson? Because if I'm Ed, I want to get Garrett Wilson the fuck off my team. What do you do now? Like, you have Adam Thielen. So what are you going to do now? You're going to play Adam Thielen along with Garrett Wilson, and now Taysom Hill is out of the flex spot, and you're putting in Tank Dell. Do you play Tank Dell consistently every week? Let's see what Tank Dell's done. Tank Dell's stat sheet kind of looks a bit like Nico Collins' stat sheet. It's a bit scattered. Let's see, Tank Dell. Yeah, okay, so for the past 2 weeks, which is, I'm assuming, why. See, it's all about impulsivity. It's all about now. It's all about, I gotta get it now. For the last 2 weeks, Tank Dell, 23 points, 114 yards. Week 10, 6 catches, 56 yards, 12 points, but he got a touchdown. And he got 2 touchdowns the last week. So it's all about now. It's all about CJ Stroud. Do it now. Credit to Eric for selling high on Tank Dell and just selling on Adam Thielen. Like, as a season, Adam Thielen's up. But recently, he's been down. So he's not really selling high on Adam Thielen. He just sold Adam Thielen. I don't get this. And with the comments that Paul made in the chat about Ed, because, Paul just hates this. He hates Mike Evans being passed around like a blunt. Everybody's getting a piece of Mike Evans but you. And the thing is this, like, before the Paul thing, and it's not like when I made the trade to Ed, it's not like Mike Evans didn't do anything. Mike Evans has been scoring. He hasn't had monster games. I think this is his best game since the game that I traded him over to Ed. I believe this was his first 20-something point performance, if I'm not mistaken. I'm doing a lot of back and forth here. I'm trusting my Wi-Fi here. At least it's been working out. Let's see. So 20 points here, 143 yards this past week. So Ed definitely selling high on Mike Evans. But Mike Evans has still been getting decent yardage. He just hasn't been getting no, he has been getting touchdowns. Mike Evans has 6 touchdowns this season. God damn it. for Adam Thielen and Tank Dell? Who was the ace? What I want to know for Ed, and I know he's not going to answer this because niggas just don't interact. Who was the A side of this trade for Ed? Like, were you looking at, oh my God, I get Tank Dell, or oh my God, I get Adam Thielen? Obviously for Eric, it was Mike Evans. You know, and it's not like Brandon Ayuk hasn't been doing anything either, right? Brandon Ayuk is the 15th ranked wide receiver. He got 11 points this week, and week 8, just before the bye, he got 10 points. So, you know, who knows if Eric's going to start him, but why not Cooper Kupp? Or at the very least, Amari Cooper. Why these two? Well, sorry, no, Tank Dell, I understand. It's totally Ed. That's such an Ed move. You know, maybe Ed is rebuilding. CJ Stroud will more than likely be Ed's keeper selection for next season. So maybe he's going to take Tank Dell along with him. Ed's rebuilding. He's rebuilding for the season, but oh God. This is what happens. This is what happens when you have impulsive managers, impulsive dudes who are just like, I lost. I got to make. Mike Evans wasn't the reason why you lost this weekend. He wasn't the reason why you lost. And getting Tank Dell and Adam Thielen isn't going to make your team any better. You're just kind of splitting hairs at that point. I don't know. No, you're not even splitting hairs, because splitting hairs would imply that these two are comparable to Mike Evans, and they're not. You know, I guess what you would hope for is, you know, getting some sort of a matchup advantage, and Tank Dell connects with CJ Stroud, and, you know, maybe you get 20 points on each side. But other than that, I don't know. Okay, so let's wrap this thing up here with the Week 11 matchups. Team Bundy in a very big game facing Ewok Rape. This is the battle for the NWO division, though even if I win, we will be tied. And technically Eric will be number 1 because he has more points than me. I'd have to outscore him by a hell of a lot fucking points. But, okay. So what I don't like about this matchup is that Thursday night, God damn it, Thursday night, I have Joe Mixon, I have Mark Andrews, I have Jamar Chase. I'm not going to start the Ravens. I have all those players. I have to have, man, by the end of that game, if I don't have 50 to 60 points, if I pop up with a 30, and then on top of that, Monday night, he's got Jalen Hurts. He's got Isaiah Pacheco. I just hate that. You know, don't you just hate that when, you know, when the other guy has, you know, all these players like playing later on? Let's see what happens here. Of course, we have a 3-game winning streak. So, you know, we're coming in hot here. But, yeah, that Thursday night game is huge. It's a huge game for us. The next game is Jokes on You going up against Pork Chop Express. Jokes on You, you know, he's I can't say that he's improved his team, because I would say that James Conner would be more of a consistent start than a Brian Robinson. Of course, Kenneth Walker, who has been struggling as of late, would also go above a Brian Robinson, and Josh Jacobs, you just have to start him. So I don't know if Pedro made his team better, but I get the trade, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know, but still a better trade than the Ed trade. On the other side, Bijan Robinson is on a bye for Paul, so don't know if that makes much of a difference. At least he gets the rest of his firepower back. Let's see what happens in this game. Joelicus Maximus going up against Ricky O. And finally, Ricky O gets some help here. He's lost 3 games in a row, but now he gets Joelicus Maximus. And for whatever reason, Orlando always beats Joe, but this season, Joe's team is a bit better than Orlando's team. So, yeah, let's see what happens. Big Papa Pooh going up against Skylander. And once again, Andy lucks the fuck out. On a bye, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor. So I guess Jay would have benefited from having Brian Robinson now that he traded him away, because he basically has no running backs. Who is he going to start? He's certainly not going to start Miles Sanders. Christ, no. Probably not going to start Tahi Spears. I'm not sure what his name is. He's not going to start him. Maybe Zach Charbonnet. Is he going to pick somebody up from the player pool? Maybe Ty Chandler. What's Jay's position? Was he like third or fourth in the waiver order? I don't know. Looks like Andy's gonna have another lucky week here. It's just that's just how this thing is playing out. You know, the fantasy gods are playing a trick on Andy. They're playing this trick on Andy that they're giving him the easiest road. Nobody's scoring points. Everybody's got buys. He just ekes by with a victory, and then at the end, he's gonna castrate him. That's what's gonna happen to Andy. And the last game here is the Floridian Crippler going up against Plathanos. As I said, this is possibly Ed's last chance at victory. Maybe, you know, but he's definitely done. This is the battle of the Dunskies. And of course, if Ed wins, then, you know, you could just call in the season for Hensel, even though, as I said, I mean, it's going to be harder to get Hensel out of here because he has the tie. So he has 5 losses as opposed to having 6, but a chance here for Ed to get one in the win column, but it doesn't make any difference. Sorry, gentlemen. Yeah, that's my point. My point is, you want to trade away Mike Evans, fine. What are you getting in return? You're getting 2 players who are less than Mike Evans. You know, and the point that I was going to make about Paul is I can't imagine a world where Paul offered Bijan Robinson and Ed chose to go with Eric's trade. What did Paul offer? Paul, what did you offer Ed that he didn't make that trade? I know Ed saw it. Ed's the most active person, you know, on the, you know, with the trades. I know he saw it. I don't know. But, as always, may your quarterbacks get hurt before they leave the locker room. May your running backs pull their hamstrings. And may your wide receivers get arrested for marijuana possession. Go fuck yourselves.